They skipped my son's funeral, but demanded his trust fund. The casket is small, too small. My mind keeps circling that thought as the pulley whirs and lowers my son Caleb into the cold ground. He was only 9 years old. My chest burns, my hands tremble, and I can't steady myself, no matter how tightly I lace my fingers together. The cemetery is quiet except for the minister's voice, heavy with words that don't capture who Caleb really was. His laugh, his stubborn questions, the way he insisted on wearing superhero pajamas to chemo, none of it fits into the tidy lines of scripture. What echoes instead is absence. The rows of empty chairs around me scream louder than any sermon. Because no one came? Not my parents, not my sister Victoria, not Melissa, my best friend since 3rd grade, the one who promised to stand with me through anything. The only person at my side is Angela, my 70-year-old neighbor who brought casseroles when I was too exhausted to cook, who read stories to Caleb when I begged for an hour of sleep. She sits close, her hand steady on mine, as though willing her strength into me. When the minister closes his Bible, I feel the pressure of everyone waiting for me to nod to get permission for the final lowering. I can't. My body refuses. I kneel instead, pulling from my pocket the action figure Caleb clutched during every hospital stay. Its plastic cape is worn from his hands. I lay it gently on the casket lid. I'll protect what's yours, I whisper, my voice breaking. I promise. Angela's voice is soft beside me. That boy loved you more than anything. I nod, but the grief isn't clean anymore. It's curdling into something darker, heavier. Because when I pull my phone out, a nervous habit, I instantly regret the screen lights up with Victoria's Instagram feed. There she is, champagne glass, raised diamond, flashing, our parents beaming beside her. Grand Horizon Hotel, engagement party. The post went live 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes ago, while I stood here bearing my son, they were clinking glasses, laughing, dressed in silk and pearls. My throat closes. I want to scream to throw the phone into the dirt to clod the earth that now separates me from Caleb. But the cruelty doesn't stop there. A new notification buzzes across the screen. A text from my mother. We need to talk. Bring the trust documents tomorrow. No condolences. No apology. No, I'm sorry I missed my grandson's funeral. Just business. Money. Something cold slices through my grief like glass. Caleb's trust fund, the one his father Ethan set up years ago, just in case, is all that's left of him now. His future, his memory, his legacy. And my family wants it. Angela notices my face pale. What is it, she asks. I show her the text. She reads it once then, again, her expression hardening in a way I've never seen. Oh dear, she murmurs. They can't possibly, but they can, and they will. I shut off the phone, slip it deep into my bag as though burying the message can make it vanish. For now, I force myself to focus on Caleb. This moment belongs to him, not to them. The cemetery worker clears his throat politely. Ma'am, we need to finish the service. Angela's grip tightens around my hand. Give her a moment, she tells him firmly. She's saying goodbye to her boy. When I finally rise, my knees buckle. Angela steadies me, and together we watch as the casket lowers fully into the earth. The rope creaks. The final thud of soil against wood feels like a physical blow. I should feel empty. Instead, I feel something ignite. It isn't peace. It isn't acceptance. It's resolve. They abandoned Caleb when he was alive. And now they want to strip him of even this last trace of a future. But I won't let them. Not after everything. If my parents, my sister, even my best friend think they can erase him with paperwork and signatures, they're about to learn how wrong they are. As we walk back to the car, Angela squeezes my shoulder. You're not alone, Destiny, she says. But deep inside, I know the truth. I am alone in this fight. And I'll have to be ready. The morning after Caleb's funeral, the sky hangs low and gray, a mirror of my mood. I shouldn't even be out of bed, but my mother's message keeps stabbing through my thoughts. Bring the trust documents tomorrow. So here I am, steering the car toward my parents' colonial-style home in Oakwood Heights, my stomach twisted into knots. I can't decide what hurts more, that they chose Victoria's engagement over Caleb's burial, or that they're already circling like vultures over his trust fund. Melissa's silver BMW is parked in the driveway when I arrive. My throat tightens. Of course she's here. My supposed best friend, the one who held my hand through my divorce, who promised she'd be at the funeral. Instead, she's inside siding with them. The front door opens before I can even knock. My father stands there, face arranged in that practiced expression of paternal concern. Destiny, come in. We've been waiting. The living room feels less like home and more like a boardroom. Victoria sits on the cream sofa, legs crossed at the ankle, her hair styled into a perfect chignon. Melissa perches beside her, eyes fixed on her manicure. My mother stands near the fireplace, fingers resting on a framed family portrait, all of us smiling years ago, when the cracks in our family hadn't yet split wide open. Not one of them mentions Caleb. Not one word of sympathy. Instead, my father steps to the mahogany coffee table where a neat stack of papers lies open. He slides a folder towards me. We need to reallocate the trust with Victoria as trustee. Sign here, Destiny. For a moment, I can't even breathe. What are you talking about? My voice comes out brittle sharp. Victoria leans forward, her tone dripping with practiced patience. Destiny, you're in no condition to handle this money. You're grieving. You've always been impulsive. We're trying to help. My mother adds, remember after college when you wanted to open that boutique? Thank goodness your father stopped you. You can't be trusted with something this important. Melissa finally glances at me, her lips pressed tight. I search her face for some sign of loyalty, but her silence confirms the truth she's already chosen sides. My father clears his throat and taps the paperwork. We've already consulted Ethan's lawyer. Given your current emotional state, he agrees. This is the prudent course. The words hit like a physical blow. I pick up one page, scanning the legal jargon, my heart pounding. Then I see it documents referencing mental competency evaluations. Another page dated more than a year ago, during the first months of Caleb's illness. You've been planning this since he got sick, I whisper. No one denies it. Victoria sighs as though I'm the one being unreasonable. You're exaggerating again. That's why we're concerned. Your judgment has always been clouded by emotion. My father slides another sheet forward. If you refuse, we'll petition for guardianship. The court will understand that grief has compromised your judgment. The full scope of their betrayal crystallizes. They dismissed Caleb's symptoms for months, telling me I was overreacting. Now I see it clearly. Every minimization, every absence from the hospital was part of their preparation. I shuffle through the papers again and find blueprints tucked beneath them. Renovation plans, Victoria's new house, a $200,000 $1,000 kitchen remodel, a home theater, a pool with a waterfall. My stomach churns. You never once visited him in the hospital, I say, my voice trembling but loud enough to echo in the silent room. Not once in 8 months. And now you want his money for a swimming pool? Victoria tosses her head, her voice cold. We all grieve differently, Destiny. Some of us just handle it better. The casual cruelty stuns me. For the first time, I see my family for who they are, not support, not safety, but opportunists in designer clothes. Why now? I demand. Why the sudden urgency? Victoria and my parents exchange looks. Something unspoken passes between them. Finally, Victoria admits Robert's company is facing cash flow issues. The wedding might be delayed unless we secure funding. My mother fiddles with her pearl necklace. And the Hilton Head property? The market turned. We're a bit extended. My father softens his tone as if this is a reasonable conversation. We're not villains, Destiny. We're family. We're just asking you to be practical. Melissa speaks for the first time, her voice small. Victoria promised me a position at Robert's company. I need this, Destiny. I have the twins to think about. I stare at her. The girl who once stayed up all night in my dorm room sharing secrets over pizza is now aligning herself with the people trying to rob me of my son's legacy. If you don't sign, my father warns his mask slipping will have no choice but to take more drastic measures. I stand my knees shaking, but my voice steady. I need time to think. I gather the papers back into the folder, ignoring their protests, and head for the door. Destiny, my father calls sharply. Don't walk away from this table. But I do. Quietly, firmly, I close the door behind me. In the car, I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles whiten. A text buzzes on my phone. Angela. How did it go? My eyes sting as I type back, they want Caleb's trust. All of it. Another call comes through Ethan's parents. Their voices are thick with grief and love. They couldn't attend the funeral. They've been overseas. But they want me to know they loved Caleb, that they'll do whatever they can to help. And then I remember something Ethan once told me when he set up the trust. If you ever need help, call Richard Donovan. He's the best trust attorney in the state. For the first time all day, hope flickers. I'm not completely alone. The law office smells of polished wood and leather, the kind of place where words weigh as heavily as weapons. I clutch the folder my father shoved at me yesterday, my grip so tight the edges cut into my palms. The receptionist ushers me into a room where Richard Donovan stands to greet me. He's older than I expected, silver hair, sharp eyes behind reading glasses. But there's something steady about him, like a man who's seen every dirty trick in the book. Mrs. Walker, he says, extending his hand. I'm sorry for your loss. Ethan spoke highly of you? My throat tightens. You knew Ethan. Richard nods. We worked together on the trust. He was very specific about what he wanted. I sink into the leather chair across from him, the folder trembling in my hands. My family's trying to take it. They didn't even come to Caleb's funeral. But the day after they shoved these at me. I spread the papers across his desk, shame burning my cheeks. Pages accusing me of instability, financial incompetence, grief, clouding my judgment. Renovation plans for Victoria's mansion tucked in between legal drafts. Richard studies them silently, his brow furrowing. Finally, he lifts his eyes to mine. They're planning to petition for guardianship. This isn't about protecting you, Destiny. It's about control. Of you and of that trust. The words slice through the fog in my head. So they can actually do this? Take it away? No. His voice is firm. Not if we stop them. Ethan built safeguards into this trust. He intended it for Caleb and if the worst happened for you. That's ironclad. But your family knows one thing: perception can sway judges. They'll try to paint you as unfit. Unfit. The word clings like a shadow. I remember nights when Caleb's fevers raged, when I cried in hospital hallways, when I forgot to eat or shower. My mother would twist those moments into proof. Richard must see the doubt flicker across my face because he leans forward. Listen to me. You did what every devoted mother would do. You fought for your child. Grief doesn't make you incompetent. It makes you human. Tears sting my eyes, but I swallow them down. What do? We build a wall of truth, Richard says. He lists it off like a battle plan. Hospital records showing your attendance. Witness statements from nurses, teachers, neighbors. Financial records proving you handled Caleb's care responsibly. And Ethan's original statement of intent, which I still have. He pulls a manila folder from his drawer, sliding it across the desk. My hands tremble as I open it. Ethan's handwriting stares back at me. This trust is to secure Caleb's future. If the worst happens, it is to provide for Destiny, who gave up everything for his care. I press my lips together to keep from sobbing. Even from oceans away, Ethan had prepared for this. Richard continues. We'll also prepare a psychiatric evaluation, preemptive on your terms. That way, when they question your mental fitness, we'll already have expert testimony. It feels overwhelming, like staring up at a mountain I don't have the strength to climb. But Richard's calm steadiness steadies me too. First step, he says, is to control the narrative. We don't wait for them to file, we confront them. In public, where they can't twist the story. Public, he nods. Coffee shop diner somewhere crowded. You confront them with Ethan's statement, and we record it. Their arrogance will make them slip. The idea makes my stomach flip. Facing them again feels unbearable, but hiding would be worse. 2 days later, I sit at a corner table in Riverside Coffee, a manila envelope on the table in front of me. My heart hammers so loudly I can barely hear the barista calling orders. Angela waits in her car across the street ready if I need her. Richard is on standby for a call. Then they arrive. Victoria in oversized sunglasses, my parents flanking her like bodyguards, Melissa trailing behind. They slide into chairs without ordering drinks, their entitlement filling the space like a fog. Victoria wastes no time. So you've signed the papers. She reaches for the envelope. I press my hand down firmly. Not yet. First, I want to know why didn't any of you come to Caleb's funeral? My mother sighs, exasperated. Destiny, we've been over this. Victoria's engagement was planned months in advance. It was your grandson's funeral, I say quietly. My father shifts uncomfortably. We all grieve differently. I slide out screenshots from the envelope photos from Victoria's Instagram timestamped during the funeral. Laughter. Champagne glasses raised. My voice sharpens. While I bury my son, you were drinking champagne. Whispers ripple from nearby tables. Victoria's cheeks flush crimson. You're being unfair? That's out of context? Next, I pull Ethan's statement from the envelope, highlighting the clause that names me sole residual beneficiary. Ethan made his intentions clear. The trust is mine to manage, not yours. My father leans forward, voice low. Destiny, you don't understand. Without this money, Robert's company collapses. The family falls apart. I meet his gaze steadily. Then maybe it should. Victoria's voice rises shrill and venomous. You don't deserve that money. You'll just waste it. The cafe goes silent. Every eye turns to our table. My hand tightens on the envelope. For the first time, I don't feel powerless. I'm not signing anything I say, my voice carrying. Not now, not ever. Their faces harden, but I stand before they can answer. My legs tremble, but each step toward the door feels like reclaiming ground they thought they owned. Outside, Angela leans across her car seat to push the passenger door open. You did it, she says softly. You stood your ground. I nod, clutching the envelope to my chest like armor. For the first time since Caleb's death, I feel something other than grief. I feel resolve. 3 days pass before the knock comes. It's not a neighbor or Angela with a casserole. It's a sheriff, his uniform crisp, his face unreadable. He hands me a thick manila envelope. Destiny Walker, he says, you've been served. The words buzz in my ears. My fingers feel clumsy as I take the packet, its weight both too heavy and too light. He tips his hat politely, then leaves me standing in the doorway with what feels like the end of my freedom. At the kitchen table, I spread out the pages, my heart racing, as my eyes catch the heading Emergency Petition for Guardianship. They've done it. They're not just after the trust anymore. They want control of me. I flip through the attachments, each word cutting deeper. Affidavits, testimonies. My gaze snags on a familiar name at the bottom of 3 pages, Melissa Bennett. Melissa, my best friend since the 3rd grade. The girl who once braided my hair before prom, who stayed up with me through college heartbreaks, who held my hand when Ethan left. Now her affidavit sits on my table, like a knife between my ribs. She's written about my episodes, the times I cried in hospital hallways, the mornings I forgot to eat, the nights I broke down after hearing another treatment had failed. She paints me as hysterical paranoid, incapable of rational decisions. I press a hand to my mouth, nausea clawing at my throat. Yes, I broke down. Of course I did. My child was dying. But Melissa, she was supposed to understand. My phone buzzes. Richard's voice is steady when I answer. I got the notification. They filed. Are you holding up? Melissa signed an affidavit, I whisper. She said I was unstable. She knows better than anyone what those nights were like. How could she? She's aligned with them now, Richard says gently. Victoria promised her a job at Robert's firm. They'll use anyone they can. I grip the edge of the table, fighting the urge to scream. She was my friend. She's their witness, Richard replies, his tone grim. But don't panic. We expected this, and we're ready. The next morning, his office becomes a war room. Documents spread across his mahogany desk, yellow highlighter streaks glowing like battle scars. Angela arrives too, carrying a stack of her journal's spiral-bound notebooks filled with neat handwriting. I wrote everything down, she tells Richard. Every meal I brought every night. Destiny stayed at Caleb's side, every fever, every treatment. She never abandoned that boy, not once. Richard flips through her entries, nodding. This is gold. A third-party witness with contemporaneous notes. The court will respect this. But my eyes are drawn back to Melissa's betrayal. I can see her face in my memory, the way she used to sit cross-legged on my bed, whispering secrets no one else knew. And now she's weaponized those same memories against me. I swallow hard. How do we fight lies that sound like truth? With evidence, Richard answers. He slides Caleb's hospital records across the desk. Every appointment you attended, every treatment you approved. Nurses will testify. His doctors will too. Melissa's words won't hold against the full picture. But doubt gnaws at me. What if the judge believes her? What if grief has made me unstable? Angela takes my trembling hands in hers. Don't let them twist your love into weakness. You are strong for Caleb. That's what matters. Her certainty anchors me, if only for a moment. 2 days later, the smear campaign begins. The local newspaper runs a headline, "Family seeks help for grieving mother." There's my father photographed in their pristine living room, a look of practiced sorrow etched on his face. "This breaks our hearts," his quote reads. "But we must protect Destiny from herself." On social media, Victoria posts a childhood photo of us, arms around each other, the caption, "Sometimes love means making hard choices. Please keep our family in your prayers. The mental health awareness, #family first." The comments flood in sympathy, admiration, praise for their bravery. Not one word about Caleb, not one word about their absence from his funeral. I slam my phone down on the counter. They've already convicted me in the court of public opinion. Courts don't decide cases based on Instagram likes, Richard reminds me, but it shows how far they'll go. That evening, Angela arrives again, her journals in tow. "We'll build a wall of truth," she says firmly. "Let them fling mud, the truth will stand." Richard calls later that night. His tone is sharp urgent. The hospital ethics board just confirmed it. Victoria accessed Caleb's medical records using an old emergency contact form. That's a serious breach. I grip the phone tighter. She's digging for ammunition. Exactly. And it's backfired. We'll use it to expose her motives. But the worst blow comes at 9:48 p.m. My doorbell camera alerts me. Victoria stands on my porch alone. Against my better judgment, I answer with the security chain latched. Her voice is soft, sympathetic, almost convincing. "Destiny, please? This doesn't have to get uglier. Just sign the papers, give me control of the trust. We'll withdraw the petition, and no one will have to know about your episodes." The word is poison. You mean the nights I called Melissa because Caleb couldn't breathe? The mornings I forgot my own pills while memorizing chemo schedules. Her smile flickers, replaced by something sharper. "If you don't, we'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. You were always the burden, Destiny, the problem child." I close the door in her face, my hands steadier than they've been in weeks. The camera records every word. When I forward the video to Richard, his response comes swiftly. "Perfect. The mask slipped. We'll use this in court." For the first time since Caleb's diagnosis, I feel something burn through the fog of grief. Not despair, but anger. Anger sharp enough to hold me upright. Melissa may have betrayed me. My parents may have tried to erase me. But I still have truth, and I'll wield it like a weapon. The courtroom feels colder than I imagined. Polished wood, benches, the hum of fluorescent lights, and the faint smell of coffee from the bailiff's cup. It should feel like a place of justice, but today it feels like a stage where my family has rehearsed their performance to perfection. I sit at the defendant's table beside Richard. He adjusts his glasses and leans close. "Remember, Destiny. Don't let them bait you. We present evidence, not emotion." I nod, though my pulse is hammering in my throat. Across the aisle, my parents Victoria and Melissa sit together like a united front. Their faces are masks of grief and concern. Anyone who didn't know the truth might think they were here to save me. All rise for the Honorable Judge Marion Peabody. A stern woman in her 60s enters, robes flowing as she takes her seat. Her gaze sweeps the room, sharp and appraising. "We're here on the matter of the guardianship petition for Destiny Walker. Petitioners, you may proceed." Their attorney rises smoothly, a man with silver hair and a voice honed for persuasion. "Your Honor, this case is about protecting a grieving mother who has tragically lost her way. Miss Walker has exhibited unstable behavior, reckless financial decisions, and a refusal to accept help from her family. We seek only to safeguard her and her son's legacy." His words coat the room in honey. I clench my fists beneath the table nails, digging into my palms. Melissa is the first to testify. She avoids my eyes as she takes the stand. Destiny changed during Caleb's illness. She became paranoid. She'd call me at 3 a.m, convinced the doctors were hiding things. She screamed at nurses. She cried constantly. I worried she couldn't handle the pressure. Each word slices through me. I remember those nights vividly, the terror of Caleb's breathing faltering, the helplessness of fever spiking at dawn. Melissa had once been the person I clung to, and now she twists those moments into ammunition. Next, my mother takes the stand, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. We only want what's best for our daughter. She's our child. But she's not thinking clearly. She's vulnerable to manipulation. This isn't about money, it's about protecting her. The judge's expression softens, and fear grips my chest. They're winning. Then it's Richard's turn. He stands, his voice calm, but edged with steel. "Your Honor, what we've just heard is a carefully crafted narrative designed to mask the petitioner's true motives. Let's review the facts." He presents hospital records highlighting every appointment I attended, every treatment I approved, every sleepless night by Caleb's side. He calls nurses and doctors as witnesses, each testifying to my devotion, my competence, my strength. Angela takes the stand, her voice steady. "I was there every day. Destiny never faltered. She fought for her son when no one else would. If that's instability, then perhaps the rest of us should wish to be so unstable." The judge's eyes narrow, her demeanor shifting. Finally, Richard cues up the video from my doorbell camera. Victoria's voice fills the courtroom. We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. You were always the burden. Gasps ripple through the room. Victoria's face flushes crimson. Richard lets the silence stretch, then speaks. This isn't about concern. This is about control. This is about money. And the petitioners have revealed their motives in their own words. The judge calls a recess, her expression unreadable. My knees tremble as I stand, but Richard places a reassuring hand on my shoulder. We've cracked their facade. Stay strong. As I step into the hallway, I realize something startling. For the first time, I'm not trembling with grief or fear. I'm trembling with anger and resolve. Tomorrow they'll try again to twist my pain into weakness. But today, the truth spoke louder than their lies. When the recess ends, I return to the defendant's table with Richard. My palms are damp, but my spine feels straighter than it did an hour ago. The courtroom atmosphere has shifted. My family no longer looks like noble rescuers. They look like conspirators caught mid-scheme. Judge Peabody adjusts her glasses. Mr. Donovan, you may continue. Richard stands. His voice is calm, deliberate, the way a surgeon might cut, precise and devastating. Your Honor, to further establish context, I'd like to present Exhibit 14, a complete timeline of Caleb Walker's illness treatments and family involvement. He gestures to a large board wheeled into the courtroom. It's covered with documents, hospital schedules, and photographs. I recognize each one. Every appointment, every night in the pediatric ward, every fever chart. My life for the last 18 months laid bare in neat columns. The judge leans forward. Richard continues. This timeline shows every documented instance of Caleb's treatment. Notice the absence of visits or support from the petitioners during this period. Angela rises from the back, sworn in as a witness again. She confirms what the board reveals. I sat with Destiny countless nights. I kept journals of who came, who didn't. Her parents. Her sister they never showed. She holds up her worn notebooks, pages filled with neat handwriting. It's all here. The silence in the courtroom is thick, suffocating. My father shifts in his seat, his jaw tight. Victoria looks down at her manicured nails, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Then Ethan's father, Robert, takes the stand. His grief is raw, but his words are steady. My son set up this trust for Caleb, and if Caleb didn't survive for Destiny, Ethan was clear. He told me personally she sacrificed everything. She deserves security if the worst happens. That was his intent. That was his final wish. I press a hand to my chest, fighting back tears. Hearing Ethan's father say it aloud feels like Caleb's voice is in the room reminding me I'm not alone. Richard paces slowly, letting the weight of the testimony settle. Your Honor, this isn't a case of a family protecting a grieving mother. This is a case of a grieving mother protecting her son's legacy from a family that abandoned him and now seeks to exploit his death. The judge studies the evidence wall for a long, silent moment. Then she looks back at my family. Her expression is colder now, sharper. Petitioners, she says you will have the opportunity to respond. But I must warn you, this court is deeply concerned about the evidence presented. I glance across the aisle. My mother is pale. Victoria's lips are pressed into a thin line. Melissa bites her fingernail, a habit from childhood she'd never quite broken. For the first time since Caleb's funeral, I feel the balance shifting. The story they spun so carefully is unraveling thread by thread, and I'm ready to pull until the whole thing collapses. When Judge Peabody calls the petitioners back to the stand, the air grows heavy. It feels less like a courtroom and more like an operating room, where the scalpel is truth, and there's nowhere for lies to hide. Victoria is the first to sit. Her posture is perfect, her tone calm, almost rehearsed. We only wanted what's best for my sister. She's grieving. She can't make rational financial decisions. Richard doesn't let her finish before sliding a document across the table. Ms. Walker, is this your voice in the recording from Ms. Walker's home last night? The bailiff cues the audio. The courtroom fills with Victoria's words. We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. Gasps ripple through the benches. Victoria's face drains of color. She starts stammering. That was taken out of context. Context, Richard presses. You were standing on her porch threatening her, weren't you? The judge's gavel slams once. Answer the question, Miss Walker. Victoria falters. Yes, she whispers. Richard's voice is quiet but sharp. So this wasn't about grief. This was about intimidation. Her silence is confirmation enough. Then my mother is called. Her tears come easily, but they no longer look convincing. Destiny has always been fragile. We thought she might hurt herself. Richard cuts in, holding up a printout. Fragile or inconvenient. Here's a transcript of your coffee shop conversation. Would you like me to read where you said, once the guardianship is approved, we can settle Victoria's mortgage situation? My mother's eyes widen. The performance cracks. She folds her hands tightly in her lap, unable to answer. My father tries to intervene next, claiming responsibility. It was my idea to file. I thought it would protect Destiny. But Richard interrupts again, his tone like steel. And yet, in the same conversation, you said, once we have guardianship, we can use the money however we want. Do you deny saying that? The courtroom is silent. My father's lips press together. Finally, he shakes his head. No. Judge Peabody leans back, her expression icy. I see. Melissa is called last. She looks small on the witness stand, her voice trembling. I only signed the affidavit because they told me Destiny would hurt herself. I thought I was helping Richard doesn't attack her. He simply asks, and did you witness her ever neglect Caleb's care? Melissa's eyes fill with tears. She shakes her head. No, never. She was the best mother I've ever seen. Her voice breaks. I'm sorry. For a moment, my anger softens. The betrayal still cuts deep, but the guilt in her voice is real. The judge surveys them one by one. My family, once so composed, now sits unraveling under the weight of their own words. And me? I sit taller, my heart pounding, knowing that the mask they wore for so long has finally slipped. The courtroom feels frozen in time. For weeks, I've carried the weight of their lies on my back. Now all of it hangs in the air like smoke waiting to clear. Judge Peabody adjusts her glasses and the sound echoes like a gavel strike before the final judgment. I have heard enough, she says, her tone razor sharp. This was not an act of concern. This was a coordinated attempt to exploit a grieving mother for financial gain. Shameful, calculated, and cruel. My mother gasps. Victoria drops her gaze to the table, lips pressed white. My father stiffens but says nothing. The emergency guardianship petition, the judge continues, is dismissed with prejudice. You may not refile, ever. Her words slam down like steel bars. My chest loosens for the first time in months. But Judge Peabody isn't done. Furthermore, I am ordering a full investigation into possible perjury by Charles and Elaine Walker and Victoria Walker. Melissa Bennett, the judge pauses, her eyes softening just slightly. You will cooperate fully with this investigation. If you are pressured into false testimony, this will be taken into account. Melissa nods quickly, tears streaming down her cheeks. My mother tries to stand, reaching toward me, her face pale with panic. Destiny, wait, we can fix this. Sit down, Mrs. Walker, the judge snaps. The bailiff takes a step forward and my mother collapses back into her seat. I don't move. I can't. I'm rooted to the spot, listening as the judge's voice cuts through every lie they tried to build. The trust is hereby secured under its original provisions. Any further attempt to interfere will be treated as contempt of court. Additionally, given the evidence of intimidation and harassment, I am granting an immediate restraining order. The petitioners are prohibited from contacting Ms. Walker in any way. The gavel slams, one strike, final. For a heartbeat, the entire room holds its breath. Then, like air, rushing back after suffocation, relief floods through me. I press a hand to the locket around my neck, Caleb's picture warm against my skin. Richard leans close, whispering, "You won destiny, for him and for you." Angela wipes her eyes in the front row. Ethan's parents hold hands tightly, their faces glowing with pride and sorrow all at once. Across the aisle, my family sits shattered, Victoria trembling, my mother whispering to herself, my father staring straight ahead as if stone. The dynasty they tried to build on Caleb's grave has turned to ash in front of them. When I rise, the bailiff moves with me, ensuring they can't come near. For once, I feel taller than all of them. Walking out of that courtroom, the cameras and reporters blur into noise. All I hear is my own heartbeat steady and strong, and Caleb's voice in memory. Don't worry, Mom. I'm okay. And for the first time, I believe him. The courthouse doors swing open and the cool autumn air hits my face like baptism. Cameras flash, microphones shove forward, voices blur together. Mrs. Walker, how do you feel? Do you have anything to say to your family? What are your plans now that you've won? For weeks, I feared this moment, imagined myself shrinking, breaking, unable to speak. But instead, my voice is steady when I say, today wasn't about money. It was about my son. His name is Caleb. He was brave, he was brilliant, and he deserved more than to be treated like a prize to fight over. His legacy will not be stolen. The crowd stills. The microphones lower just slightly. I walk past them, each step lighter than the last. Angela is waiting by her Buick, her eyes shining. You did it, dear, she says, opening her arms. I fold into her hug, the kind of embrace that feels like home. That night, for the first time in months, I sleep. No nightmares of hospital corridors. No visions of my family circling like vultures, just silence warm and merciful. In the morning, Richard calls with an idea. The trust is secure, Destiny. Now you decide what it means. Caleb's legacy isn't just money, it can be a force. The thought terrifies and excites me. For so long, my world shrank to one hospital room, one little boy's fight. Now, maybe it can expand again. 2 months later, I'm standing in a pediatric oncology ward. The plaque reads, the Caleb Walker Foundation, because no family fights alone. Nurses bustle past parents, clutch coffee cups, children play in a corner painted with murals of superheroes. A young nurse shakes my hand. I'm the first Caleb Walker scholar. This fellowship means I can specialize in pediatric hematology. Her eyes are fierce grateful. Thank you. I can't speak at first. Tears rise, but they're not the old ones, these are clean light. He wanted to be a doctor. I manage my voice soft, but sure. Now in a way, he still is. Outside, Ethan's parents stand arm in arm. Angela is directing volunteers for meal deliveries. Richard reviews paperwork with a board member. Around me, people are building something real from the ruins. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the ones who show up when the world falls apart. And as I look at Caleb's photo on the plaque, his smile wide and unbroken, I know I've kept my promise. A year passes, seasons change, but grief moves slower. Some mornings, I still reach for Caleb's breakfast bowl before I remember. Some nights, I wake to phantom echoes of his cough. But now there's something alongside the ache purpose. The Caleb Walker Foundation has grown beyond anything I imagined. Families now receive housing near hospitals, emergency bills, covered even counseling services for siblings. His name carved on every grant letter, every scholarship check, lives on in ways his 9 short years couldn't contain. On the anniversary of his funeral, I returned to the cemetery. The ground is softer now, grass covering what once felt like an open wound. I kneel and place fresh flowers. Then Caleb's action figure, the one I nearly buried with him, retrieved by the kind worker who saw my regret. I kept my promise, I whisper. They didn't win. You did. The wind stirs, rustling the leaves like quiet applause. I close my eyes and almost hear his laugh, bright, unbroken. As I rise, I notice a small girl watching from a distance. Her mother approaches, hesitant. Are you Destiny Walker? My daughter is Emma. She's alive today because of the doctor your foundation funded. Emma steps forward, holding a crayon drawing of a superhero with messy hair. This is for you, she says shyly. I take it with trembling hands. Thank you, Emma. He would have loved this. After they leave, I stare at the drawing, the child's scrawled letters, Be brave. The sun dips, shadows stretching across the grass. I touch Caleb's name, carved into stone, then the locket around my neck. Sometimes betrayal teaches you who your family truly is. Sometimes loss strips everything away until only the truth remains. And sometimes from the deepest wound, you build something unbreakable. I turn to leave, but stop glancing back at the grave one last time. Rest easy, buddy, I murmur. Your fight isn't over. It just changed hands. And with that, I walk into the fading light, still grieving, still healing, but carrying a legacy that will outlast us all. Thank you for watching and honoring Caleb's story. Every like, comment, and subscription helps keep these full story narrations alive and spreads the message that real families chosen, not just inherited.